I don't know. I don't know how to tell you that this. Well, I guess I'll just tell you. I've been uploading our videos to like Vietnamese YouTube, and we're like basically superstars over there. I'm getting like a shit ton of emails. It's insane.
Mike, can we just fucking start?
That was my intro.
Oh, that was your intro?
Yeah, that was like, I guess I didn't go over well.
Oh yeah, I thought you weren't even recording yet.
Yeah, you didn't tell us shit. You just started talking.
Hello, I'm Michael Thrax. This is the Neon Nightcast podcast. Join with me, like always, is Garrett Zagre and Eric the Dr. Soybean.
Thank you, or as I like to call you, the Inspector Schreiker to my Paul Kersey.
So we are not superstars in Vietnam, sadly. I wish it was true, but
I mean, I don't think English is very common over there, so
you know, I don't know. I think it must be because America really kind of settled in it.
No, they didn't.
No, we didn't.
How long were they in Vietnam for?
They fought a war because
over a
colonies
decade.
were taking over the country, but they didn't like colonize it.
I know they didn't colonize it, but
I was 2 decades, 20 years.
yeah. So like Japan had
Anyways.
has a huge American influence because of the war.
Japanese are super xenophobic, though.
They are.
Well, I mean, that's a generalization, but
No, it's true for every Japanese person I've met.
Literally every single. Anyways, holy shit. So off topic. You know, and we know, we're going to talk about, I think what we're going to call it is cartoons that defined our childhood.
Why don't we just call it cartoons?
Old ass cartoons.
90s cartoons.
Probably the best name for it is 90s cartoons.
well, crossing over into the late
90s, early 2000s. Yeah.
But, yeah.
You know, there was something special about cartoons in that time.
Just because we were born in that time? Like,
well,
that's when we watched the most?
No, but every movie had a cartoon for it.
Well, we were kind of all growing up during, we discussed this on a previous podcast, but in the, starting, I believe, in the late 80s and continuing through the 90s, there was kind of what they call the animation renaissance.
Yeah.
Where animated shows started to get a lot higher quality and becoming like, I don't think they were ever unpopular, but they started to become really popular again.
Probably with technology getting easier to make them and stuff. But off the top of my head, like, I know that, you know, just Ace Ventura, The Mask, they, like, at one time, Jim Carrey had 2 cartoons about him running.
Yeah. They both sucked, but...
Oh, they were decent.
I always thought they were dumb as hell.
So, I guess, to just... I'll ask, if you had one cartoon, what was your favorite, or what...
God, I don't know,
What
man.
was that one cartoon that really stuck out for you?
I want to say... Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Eric.
Oh, well, you usually go first, so if you have something in mind, you can go.
I was going to say Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Oh, that's fair.
Because I remember watching... Like, that one came out in 2005, so it's you know, mid-2000s, so...
You were how old?
Really fit. I was 10 when it came out.
Then you were a kid, and that defined your childhood.
Yeah, I mean, given the age you are, I can understand that answer.
I just remember I fucking loved this show. I loved the idea of, you know, the 4 different elements and being able to use them in martial arts, I guess.
Yeah.
And the way, because, like, if you guys had to choose, because you guys know what Avatar was, right?
Oh, yeah.
Of course.
Yeah.
So if you guys had to choose one of the 4 elements, which one would it be?
I always saw myself as being earth or maybe fire.
I would say probably fire.
See, I was thinking fire all the way too. Like, fire just seems like the most badass element.
It is a very interesting way to think of people, because people's personalities really you could, you see someone and you can just be like, she's like watery. She's pretty watery. You know what I mean? Do I see you two as being fire?
Do you?
I'm thinking.
Dead air.
That's all.
Well, you two think. You two can talk.
1 second. Before we move on, just one of my favorite characters in Avatar was Uncle Iroh.
Oh yeah.
Is like, I feel like everyone loved him.
He was voiced by Mako, and everyone loves Mako.
I don't know who Mako is, but sure. Yeah, because he fought in the Fire Wars, the War of the Four Nations or whatever, and then he lost his son. So like this whole time, he's just trying to make Zuko, the prince, like find peace with himself.
Yep.
And like Zuko doesn't find it until like he joins with Aang and shit.
Yeah.
And Iroh lost his son, and he sings a sad song whenever the Earth capital falls, and it's just really fucking sad.
I always thought it was cool that they had the main villain get like exiled by his people basically, and then join with the heroes, which that's been. It's not the first time it's been done, but they did it really well in that show. Yeah,
because I mean, Zuko was also like, once Zuko joined with Aang and all them, I feel like I like Zuko the most.
Yeah,
out of all the characters.
Yeah, one of my favorite episodes, and I haven't seen the entire series, but one of my favorite episodes is when they go and see that play about themselves in the Fire Nation.
I remember which one you're talking about, but I think I do, but I don't remember the exact.
So Eric, the Fire Nation hates this like group because they're like always fucking around with them. So they're in the Fire Nation and they go to this play, and it's just like this like butcherization of like all of their characters and stuff, and it's so good. And like they're watching it, so you see them like commenting on it, and they're like, "Oh, I didn't do that." It's really good.
Yeah, and another really good thing about Avatar is they had really great fight scenes. Like, I'm just remembering whenever Aang fought Fire Lord Ozai, I think was his name.
Yeah, I don't remember.
That was like one of the best fights like I remember seeing in any animated cartoon thing.
Interesting. I think, I've been thinking about it, and I guess I couldn't see you guys as anything else, but I definitely think I would be Earth.
I feel like I could go fire, like I'm like 80% fire, 20% Earth.
Yeah.
So you'd be the same as the girl with the weird eyes.
Well, she's blind.
So.
Oh, okay. I'm not all that familiar with the show.
Well, yeah. What was your show then, Eric?
Well, see, that's the thing. Like, I'll just say briefly, if I think like very, very early childhood, it would have to be this show called Z-Bots, which I know nobody other than me, even my age, remembers. And then if we move into like later childhood, and I'm not counting The Simpsons for this because that's like, I guess, technically an adult show. We're talking kids' cartoons.
Yeah.
So if we move into later childhood, it would be stuff like Sailor Moon, Dragon Ball, and oddly, I used to really, really like Doug.
Jesus.
I don't think Doug was that bad. I remember whenever the movie for Doug came out, they were like, "Oh my god, we have to get it. We watched Doug on TV. We have to get the movie."
Oh, you were actually psyched for it?
So bad.
I mean,
we were psyched for it.
I wouldn't say we were psyched, but we were pleased whenever we did get the movie and watched it.
Now,
yeah, I don't know why, like, because I tried to rewatch it a couple years ago just on YouTube, just out of curiosity.
And
I just found it's really, really slow.
I couldn't get through like the first half of the first episode.
Yeah, I definitely don't like it on a rewatch.
That's how I feel with Star Trek, the original series. Just can't make it through the episodes.
Yeah.
I've tried. Like, that's the only Star Trek I've not watched, and I feel terrible about myself. But
it really is.
It's not good. It really isn't good.
Yeah, I can't force myself to watch it.
I do really wish more people knew Z-Bots, though, because that was a great fucking show. The short version of it is it took place in the future, and it was a future where robots were common to do like menial tasks and shit like that. But this one guy, he'd invented the way to make robots basically be sentient. And this evil corporation essentially was always trying to steal that technology from him because they couldn't figure that out. And that was basically the plot of the series. And the really weird gimmick of this show is that you were supposed to buy 3D glasses, because at certain times during the show, during the battle scenes, they would have 3D effects, and they'd show this 3D glasses like come up in the corner of the screen, and that meant you were supposed to put the 3D glasses on.
That's so weird.
Yeah.
Like, did they have a stake in the 3D glasses market?
Probably.
You know, I don't know. And it's like I said, it's one of those shows, even a lot of people my age that I'm like, do you remember Z-Bots? They're like, what the fuck are you talking about? But somehow it was really, really memorable to me. And then Sailor Moon, I guess, was kind of the first anime that we got into, me and Mike, because that was the first anime that really, I guess, became acceptable to like in North America. Like, before then, anime was seen as like Speed Racer, very like gauche.
Yeah.
And that obviously suffered from being a dub back when the West didn't dub anime well, because, you know, not that Sailor Moon was incredibly violent or anything like that, but they felt that they had to like westernize it and remove anything that was even slightly racy. Although technically there were naked chicks in every single episode.
Well,
so.
they took out a lot from it. Like, they made the two lesbians like
cousins,
lesbians. Yeah. Well, okay. I was gonna like stick away from like adult cartoons, and I'm gonna stick away from anime, and I'm strictly gonna talk about Western cartoons. So when I was a kid, it was X-Men and Spider-Man. Those were awesome. Batman Beyond.
Which was a bit later. That was kind of early 2000s.
And then also anything that Disney made. Like DuckTales.
Rescue Rangers was a great one.
Darkwing Duck, Tailspin, Hercules. Emperor's New Groove. But I was a little old.
That was a movie first, though, too.
Yeah, but so
same with Hercules.
all of those movies.
Yeah, that's true.
All of those movies got their own cartoons, and they were all great, from what I remember.
I feel like they had. I feel like all these shows had just the perfect amount of comedy in them. Like, you were laughing in every episode.
Yeah,
and they had great characters like Kronk in Emperor's New Groove.
Yeah. I think David Spade voiced someone, and no, was it David Spade or Pauly Shore?
David Spade was the Emperor in Emperor's New Groove.
Okay, well, in Hercules, he was in high school and he had this friend, and it was either Pauly Shore or David Spade.
Oh, Hercules! Hercules! You never seen The Nutty Professor?
I've not.
Another Disney remake. So X-Men and Spider-Man, like, there's nothing really to say. Like, those are just classic 90s comic book cartoons.
I remember liking Spider-Man the best.
Oh, Spider-Man was so good. But I rewatched both series 6 years ago, and I actually liked X-Men more than I liked Spider-Man.
That actually doesn't surprise me because looking back on it now, just by the nature of how Spider-Man is, they always felt like the need to have him give like some quote witty comebacks and stuff like that were usually pretty lame in retrospect.
I don't know, just like the X-Men had so many sweet story arcs. Like they would basically just have like 5 episodes be like, oh, we're fighting Dark Phoenix, or oh, we're fighting the Juggernaut, or we're fighting what's his face from space and shit.
I remember Teen Titans was like that a lot for me.
Oh,
yeah, Teen Titans.
That's like another show.
Yeah, they would have giant story arcs where like there was that one where it was all about Raven and her upbringing by like Trigon or whatever.
And by the devil and Slade.
Yeah, and Slade tries to like control her, capture her and some shit.
It was like all about Slade. Slade was always the main villain.
Yeah. And then I remember Terra. Slade took control of Terra and Beast Boy was devastating.
So that show, I was like 13 and that show ruined me. Like Raven,
Teen Titans?
Raven and Starfire, I just like, oh my god! I remember having like not wet dreams, but like sexual dreams about the both of them.
Dude, I liked Raven the most.
Mostly Starfire, but as I get older, I kind of like Raven more.
Yeah, I like Raven more personally.
Yeah.
Do you have a towel to throw in here, Eric?
That series was one that I never really watched. I guess I was a little too old when it came out.
Yeah, it came out in 2003, so...
Yeah, I was in a little yellow house I was watching that, so you would have been like high school.
Yeah, I was a little bit... But you know what's funny is you guys brought up Disney cartoons, so I guess this is a decent segue. Disney continued making good cartoons to the point where there were 2 cartoons that Disney made that I watched well into high school.
Yeah, man.
And they were Kim Possible and Fillmore.
I liked
they were just so
Fillmore more than I liked Kim.
I don't remember Fillmore. I loved Kim Possible. Kim Possible was amazing.
Okay, wait. Let's talk about Fillmore first. So Fillmore was the show, Garrett, where it was this little black kid who was like a hall monitor for his school, and it was basically like a gritty cop show.
Yeah, they treated the show like Law and Order. Like the school was really it was the richest school to ever exist in any history of any school. Yeah, because the school was really big. They had like any club you could think of.
Yeah.
And it'd be stuff like Fillmore and his partner, like they'd bust like a counterfeit hall pass ring and stuff like that. And they'd always treat it like a cop show. Like they had this chief, Vallejo. And he'd always be like drinking like cocoa when he'd get stressed, and they'd be like, lay off the cocoa, Vallejo.
Yeah. Like I remember there's one episode where there was counterfeit hockey cards going around, and going on at the same time, they were getting visited by a Canadian, like God, what's the word?
Exchange student or something like that.
Exchange student, but he was like not royalty, but he was someone important, so he had diplomatic immunity. And there's like all these scenes where he's like, "You can't touch me, Fillmore. Like, I'm untouchable." And he's like, "Oh, I'll get you," and all this shit. Yeah, that show was so good. Like, it actually... Like, that premise is genius. That's such a funny idea for a show, and it really fucking worked.
Yeah, it was legit hilarious.
Like, that episode is basically a parody of...
Die Hard 2, I think?
Not Die Hard.
Lethal Weapon 2.
Lethal Weapon 2, yeah. Which, that's a great movie. He's just like, you can't kill me, and he's just like, I don't give a fuck anymore, and he just shoots him.
But Kim Possible was great too. I liked that one. Probably not quite as much as Fillmore, but I did like it a lot. For a Disney show, it had surprisingly good fight scenes, good characters.
Oh man, I just remember looking at the internet for pictures of like Kim and Shago going at it. Oh man, all these cartoons. No wonder I'm like way into like hentai and stuff. It's just like, as a kid, I just watched all these cartoons and was like, oh man, I gotta go to the bathroom.
So what did you like about Kim Possible, Garrett?
I liked whenever Kim and Ron finally got together at their senior prom.
Yeah, was that the show or was that the second movie?
That was the last movie that basically ended the series.
I like that
the series that ended, and then there was that last movie, the final movie.
I like that they brought back his monkey kung fu thing at the very end.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Holy shit!
Yeah,
and Rufus was like one of the most valuable.
Everyone loved Rufus, man. He was amazing.
But then, like, you see one in real life, and you're like, "That's fucking disgusting."
And like, they're not intelligent at all. They're basically like, well, ants are intelligent, but they're basically like dumb ants.
They're weird animals. They're like bugs. They're like mammals that behave like bugs.
Yeah, it's really weird. I'm pretty sure they have like a queen and stuff.
Yeah.
I'm just looking at one right now, and it's like a fat. It's just disgusting. It's like a fat, hairless, just sack of flesh with. God damn! It's so disgusting. They're so nasty.
So another Disney show. We will talk about the two duck shows, but another one that I see that you brought up, Garrett, was Gargoyles. And we briefly already talked about Star Trek. And half of the staff on TNG did voices on Gargoyles. Well, not half, but a couple of them.
Quite a few.
Jonathan Frakes, Marina Sirtis, Kate Mulgrew. Kate Mulgrew was Voyager. Who was Voyager's captain? Janeway.
Oh wow.
Also Brent Spiner.
Oh, Data.
So they had like all of the fucking staff. Holy shit. I only remember two. Troy and number one being on the show.
Riker?
Yeah, Riker. But Gargoyles was pretty good. It wasn't one of the ones, I don't really remember us being fully into it, Eric, but...
Yeah, I don't remember. We weren't as into it as we were into some of the other ones we've mentioned, but we did like it, and we did watch it quite often.
Yeah.
It had a really... it was one of the first Disney cartoons that had kind of more like a darker atmosphere.
Yeah, that's why I like this so much, is because it had that dark atmosphere.
I remember getting out of it when they had the story arc where him and the female gargoyle were going like back through time on that boat, and I was just like, this is dumb.
I don't even remember it that well.
Yeah. So anyways, let's get into the duck shows. The duck craze of the 90s. So
the duck phase of the early 90s.
Like,
for some reason.
DuckTales is legit a fucking fantastic show. That show is amazing.
You know what? I actually have to say what was good about that show and shows like Rescue Rangers, as opposed to some of the Disney stuff that came later. I agree with the nostalgia critics' thought on this. DuckTales and Rescue Rangers, they had this like timeless quality to them.
Yeah.
They were made in the 80s and early 90s, but there was nothing about them that dated them to that time.
Yeah.
Whereas if you look at like Goof Troop, it's so 1995.
Yeah.
Not that there's necessarily anything wrong with something, like everything to a degree is a product of its time, but there's a way to like make certain things timeless, and it's like they forgot how to do that at a certain point, but then they remembered again. But anyway,
but with Disney and their cartoon department, they were like, let's go fucking hard on the 90s.
Yeah.
They made that other duck show with Huey Lewis and the Boss. In the news, I mean. What was the show? Quack Pack?
Quack Pack, yeah.
And that's the most 90s fucking TV show that was ever made, and it's so lame.
You
so
look up
shitty.
1990s in the dictionary, and you'll see a picture of that fucking show.
Like the Quack Pack was brutal, even for the 90s. It was too 90s. But yeah, like DuckTales, it's just good fun. Like they're always going on some adventure, and like, oh man, like they introduced Gizmo Duck later on, and he was like the main fighter. Like they'd be like, "Oh, we're in trouble," and he'd be like, "Yeah, I'll just call it Gizmo Duck," and he'd just come and like beat everyone up, and it was awesome. That show was amazing. And then they had the spin-off with Launchpad, but it was supposed to star him, but then things change, and Darkwing Duck, it was almost as good. It was just kind of like Batman, but with a duck.
Yeah.
I didn't realize the premise of DuckTales was that Donald Duck went to the Navy.
Yep. Yeah.
I did not. I'm reading it right now, and that's so weird.
There's you can look up a picture like DuckTales family tree, and it's like the most extensive family tree picture I've ever seen in my life for a fucking cartoon about ducks.
My favorite DuckTales moment will always be, this was a couple years ago when Mike came over to hang out at my place, and we were fucking around with Nintendo, and I was playing DuckTales for the NES.
Yep.
And then your nephews come up on screen, and he couldn't remember the names, and he's like, "Oh, it's Huey, Dewey, and Pubis."
Pubis, yeah, that's it. That's what I was trying to say before.
Instead, you fucked up. You're fucking up and said Huey Lewis and the News, which is a band.
I know. I just went with that. Yeah, Pubis. Yeah, he will always remembered as Pubis.
Yeah.
I don't even know his name. Huey, Louie, and
Dewey.
Yeah.
I just love how out of nowhere you pulled out Pubis. Like you weren't even trying to be funny. Like you
just Pubis.
Yeah.
Well,
I think we should talk about another movie that came out. I think it's pretty sure it's in the 90s. A Goofy movie.
That was a good movie.
Did you guys watch that?
Yeah.
We did, yeah.
It wasn't one of my favorites because it just like I wanted to see like action or some shit, but that's modern day kind of like heartwarmers really wasn't my thing growing up.
See, like me and Gabe watched this movie. I feel like we watched it all the time. And on Oni Plays, they reference this movie a bit. And they always talk about Goofy's black feet.
Yeah.
And like whenever I watched it, I remember I'm like, this is like, it made me feel weird to see his feet. So whenever I heard them talking about it on Odie Plays, I was glad that
it wasn't only you.
One.
Yeah.
Yeah. 'Cause I'm like, his feet are so fucking weird looking. They're black and like they look furry.
Yeah.
And, it's just kind of gross.
It's your brother is someone who I wish I knew as a kid. Like, I wish I grew up with your brother because he just like, he was probably just, I don't know. I just have this feeling that he was probably such a weird kid. Not weird. I don't know how to put it. I can't picture Gabe watching the Goofy movie a lot.
Because we watched the Goofy movie and the Goonies a fuck ton.
Yeah, Gabe getting excited over something, but then I guess I can believe it because the first time I went up to see them, visit them in America, they made me watch like Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs too, and Gabe was like laughing his ass off, and I was like, what the fuck?
I've never seen that movie, but I have seen the porno version, Horny with a Chance of Man Balls.
You should watch the original.
Yeah.
The original, like, Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs is actually really fucking funny.
So, the spinoff of a Goof Troop movie, what was it called?
Wait, Goofy movie?
Yeah, what was the TV show? Goof Troop.
Just called Goof Troop.
Yeah.
Okay.
That, holy fuck, my brain. It was okay. It was all right.
It was kind of what I was talking about, though. Like, not as bad as Quack Pack, but it was very, like, trying to be, like, there was this thing in the 90s where it was like cool, like they really pushed the whole like wearing a backwards hat and a skateboard and being anti-establishment and chewing bubble gum and drinking root beer and
yeah, it was a lot like that. It was just like Max not trying to be like his father and trying to be like a rebel, but he's still good at heart.
Yeah.
And he'd do something to fuck up, and then he'd learn his lesson from guilt, and then fix it. And I don't know. It was okay. I liked other ones better.
Were there any like live action shows you guys enjoyed?
Like from the 90s.
Let me think that's gonna
Okay. Lately we've been talking a lot about Telltale Town. What's the one with it was like segments for arts and crafts?
Oh, Take Part.
Yeah, Take Part.
I've never heard of any of these.
I think Take Part was Canadian and probably not exported.
So, live action shows I remember watching Buffy.
Yeah, that was a big one.
Is that it?
Yeah, like I'm thinking like
I'm really on the spot right now.
Like I'm trying to think I'm thinking like under 12. You know what I mean?
Okay. Strange things are happening, going around the twist.
That shit show.
The one where
Are You Afraid of the Dark?
Are You Afraid of the Dark?
And that Dracula show
Where
that nobody remembers but me.
All right, see, because I'm thinking of shows like Boy Meets World.
Okay, yeah, I watched Boy Meets World.
I couldn't stand that show. I don't know why.
It was so good.
You know what it was? It was fucking Corey. Like I just couldn't stand his face and his like stupid little afro. Like I don't know. I just fucking hated him.
Now, okay, like.
It was such a good show. It had so many life lessons to learn.
Okay, I liked that show a lot up until they went to college, and then it became the worst fucking thing ever.
I'm not going to disagree with you. I thought it was still decent whenever they went to college.
So Eric, he had an older brother named Eric, and he was like. When he was first introduced, he was just kind of like the cool older brother that Corey kind of like looked up to, and he'd like ask him advice. But then the advice would be wrong because he is also just like a teenager and he doesn't fucking know. So it was kind of cool. And yeah, he wasn't, there really wasn't anything wrong with him. But when they went to college, he was like clinically retarded.
It was so bad.
Like they ruined his character.
I mean, like, I remember one episode, I think they were stuck at the college campus due to a blizzard or something like that.
That classic sitcom scenario.
And so they're all just sitting in, like, the common area of this, I think it's the bookstore is where they hung out most of the time. And then you just see Eric come in, and he looks like he's got, like, this beard. Looks like he's been like scavenging out in the wilderness for like years. And then he comes in and they're like, "Oh, Eric, where have you been?" He's like, "I've been fighting for my life."
I'm already shaking my head.
And then he's like, "I had to marry a moose." And
fuck.
Yeah, that made me crack up so much.
But like what? Like, did he actually grow a beard in that time?
No, I think Corey was dreaming.
Oh, I was gonna say like, huh? That doesn't even make sense. Okay.
That was my favorite episode.
Like, I don't know.
I never saw it again. I only saw it once.
I think in high school they introduced Sean's older brother, half brother or whatever.
Yeah, that was him and Eric became friends.
And like he was okay at first, and then it was just kind of like why did they introduce him? Like I don't understand his purpose? Regardless,
because he didn't have any other family. Because his dad, I think, died. His mom was transient. So
I don't know. They ruined that show.
I mean, they went on for a long time, 7-8 seasons of great, TV.
Oh well, yeah, no, they literally grew up acting on that show.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. It was just better when they were kids.
It was. Oh yeah.
Should we just call this episode like something about like Disney TV shows? Because that's basically what we've only been talking about.
We talked about a lot of stuff.
Disney made great shows, though.
Yeah.
I mean, we could talk about Powerpuff Girls. That's Cartoon Network. SpongeBob. That's Nickelodeon.
SpongeBob.
Courage the Cowardly Dog.
SpongeBob was good. The first 3 seasons were actually like legit fucking funny, and now it's just a horrible train wreck, much like a lot of cartoons that go on.
I can't believe it's still going on.
I'm surprised it's going on too. 1999.
Hell, I can't believe fucking Fairly Odd Parents is still going on.
Fairly Odd Parents had a break, I'm pretty sure.
Well,
they haven't been.
What I can tell you about Fairly Odd Parents is they recently added a new character, a new main character. So first of all, they had the baby come and the dog come. And the dog is just not a character anymore, and I don't think the baby's around much anyways, or too, and like, where did the baby go? So anyways, they introduced this new character. I forget her name, but she's a girl, and her character trait is that she's perfect. And for some reason, she's upset, and because of like downsizing or something, they have to like share Fairly Godparents. So it's Timmy and his neighbor sharing Wanda and Cosmo. And
is Timmy still like 12 years old?
Yeah. And people who watch the show still are just like, this is dumb. Like, why did they do this? And it's just, I guess they're trying to like, I don't know, like, TV shows can introduce new characters and they can make it work. Because they don't, a lot of times when it goes wrong is that they'll try to force the character down your throat. The Office did it well when they had the one other office closed down and they had just like, oh yeah, you're getting transferred to this, Dunder Mifflin or this wing or whatever you want to call it. And then they were just like kind of background characters, and then they found their place, and then they became main characters. Where other shows are like, this is your cute cousin Tim, and now he's like gonna be the main focus of the show, and you're supposed to love him. Look at how adorable he is, and it just ruins the fucking show.
I mean, I don't see a whole lot of shows that. How many shows do that though?
The Brady Bunch, that 70s show.
7 Day. That was only the last season,
and it ruined the show though.
That season doesn't even count.
No, but that guy is like, he was so shit that they just like they ended the season halfway through it. People fucking hated him so much.
That season doesn't exist in my mind.
Well,
technically, they're also doing that in MLP.
No one gives a fuck about MLP.
What did they do with MLP, Eric?
Because in the last season that I watched, they had this character, Starlight Glimmer, who was a villain and then became reformed. And apparently in the newer seasons, she's like Twilight's apprentice, and she's like always around now. And a lot of people on 4chan compare her to Poochie from The Simpsons, which is an episode they did basically mocking that concept of like a new character being like made way too cool and forced down your throat. But yeah, I still think the biggest example, I agree, is Randy from that 70s show. And they didn't end the season early. It was a full season, but throughout the season, like for the first half of the season, he was like a main character. Then he started like appearing less and less. And in like the last episode of the show, the series finale where they brought back Eric and Kelso, he literally has like one scene.
Yeah. It's like what, Donna being like, I don't actually like you, and he's like, oh, okay, see you later.
I don't know why they thought it was a good idea.
Well, I guess they figured they were like, okay, Kelso and Foreman are gone. You know, we have to at least bring someone in, and they could have.
Okay.
They could have brought someone in, but they forced Randy down your throat to be the new main character. Just bring in some side character.
Well, here's the thing. Is Eric's character, he was supposed to be like, he was funny, but he was also kind of like goofy and nerdy. And Kelso was good looking, but he was a complete idiot.
Yeah.
So what they tried to do with Randy is, because they had to replace Kelso and Eric, they gave him both of their good traits, but neither of their worst traits. So in other words, this new character, he was supposed to be both funny and good looking with no negative trait to balance it out. So it just came across as like, you know, oh, this new guy shows up and he's so cool and awesome and everybody loves him right away. And you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like
I get that. Like they just forced him down your fucking throat. They tried to make him the main character, but like just have Hyde and Jackie and Fez and Donna be the main characters. They didn't have to do that.
Yeah.
It's something that actually really, really fucking bothers me. He was so shit.
Again, that season doesn't exist in my head.
I don't know. That show was... I hated it growing up because I just couldn't stand the laugh track. I would just sit there and I'd be like, that wasn't funny. That wasn't even a joke. All he did was say hi. Like, why are they laughing? Like, they don't have...
Hi, bro. 420 blazes.
They didn't have to have fucking laugh track after every fucking line.
Didn't they though?
Anyways, we're getting off topic. You know, we're supposed to be talking about cartoons, and here's a cartoon that I think all of us have seen this. Arthur.
What?
Arthur.
Oh yeah, I mean, I guess I don't. That was like a fucking kid show. Like whenever I think of Arthur, I think of kindergartners watch that.
Oh man, no, I watched it all the way. I don't know, like into high school. There's just something so charming about it.
Yeah, I mean, I remember liking it when I was really young.
Eric, we used to talk about it.
I remember liking it
all the time.
Not in high school.
We used to quote it all the time. Not in high school, but as kids, it was our shit.
Everybody always brings up the episode where Arthur makes a model plane, and he specifically tells DW not to touch it, and she takes it and throws it out the window because she thought it could fly for real, and it breaks.
Yeah.
And he's sitting there looking at it broken, and she's like, well, I didn't know it was going to break. Why would they build a plane that wouldn't fly? And he gets pissed and punches her in the arm.
Yeah.
Good.
And then
DW's
she
the
really
best
is.
character. She's the best character.
And then Arthur gets in shit for it.
Yeah. There is a strange running joke in that show about them being racist towards ducks.
Not racist, but it's like
it is.
They'd always say things like, "Oh, like this rainy weather is only good for ducks," and then you'd see like duck.
Yeah, no, it would be like raining, and it'd be raining, and DW would be complaining about it, and she'd be like, "Only ducks like this weather," and then like she'd like look out the window, and there'd be a family of ducks walking by, and she just like squinty eye stare them down. And it's like, holy fuck, they just hate ducks.
I don't think it was quite that intense, but yeah.
They hated ducks, man. They were racist. Duxist?
Speciesist.
Maybe that was their backlash against the whole duck craze.
Oh, there you go. Eric's got the theories and stuff.
So I'm seeing a show here that I really liked. I'm assuming you liked it because you wrote it down, Garrett. Ned's Declassified School Survival Guide.
Yes, dude.
That show was amazing, man.
Yeah, because like I would watch it just for the tips, just for the tips, and then you'd get drawn in because they had great characters like Coconut Head,
classic.
And then his friend, that geeky computer nerd who Cookie, yeah, he had like Google Glass before Google Glass was even a thing.
Yeah.
It was such a good show.
It was so based in reality, but so not based in reality at the same time. I love the jock. His whole thing, Eric, is he would just always have a basketball spinning on his finger.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Like no matter what was going on, they'd be at like the school dance, and he just has like the basketball spinning.
It's like Julian always having a glass of rum and coke.
Rum and cokes.
Such a good show.
Is that a cartoon that we liked when we were kids?
Which show?
Trailer Park Boys.
Oh, you're hilarious.
No, Ned's Declassified was a live action show. Another show kind of like it.
Was it?
Yeah.
Yep.
It was live action. Another show like it though was Recess.
Yeah. Recess was alright. I never really got into it though.
That show I could never stand because it always bothered me. It felt so cheap to me because even as a kid I noticed, and like you watch this show and you try and tell me this is not true. They spoke at such an unnaturally fast pace. It's like they were trying to I don't know why the fuck they did it and why it bothered me so much, but it was like everybody on the show was just like motor mouthing a mile a minute. It drove me nuts.
A show that I really liked and it was really bad for that was Mon Coley Nights. Holy fuck, they talk so goddamn fast. I have three more shows we got to talk about really quickly before we wrap this up.
You get to pick the last three?
Come on. The Weekenders.
Okay, skip it. Next one.
Eric, I know Eric, you didn't like it, but you love the theme song. You're always fucking singing it.
No, because I once made like a parody of the song in my head, but it pissed me off because I could never like remember the lyrics that I made up. But it was something like, "The weekend now, let's masturbate, call a whore, roll a joint, suck a dick." I don't know, something like that. But yeah, I never watched that show.
Creative, Eric.
And you know, I'm gonna bring up these two cartoons, and maybe we won't talk about them. Maybe you'll agree with me. I just had an idea. We can have these be their own podcasts, or even a one-parter. You know, which do we prefer, or let's compare the two: Pokemon and Digimon.
Pokemon, man.
Digimon, way better than Pokemon.
I never watched Digimon, but I used to watch Pokemon.
Well,
Digimon was wonderful.
Should we wrap this one up and talk about those two next time, or?
Well, I'm just gonna say Digimon wins because Digimon are the champions.
Well,
stupid theme song.
Pokemon still has a very successful anime going on where Digimon is only doing a OVA.
Dude, Digimon got screwed out. The Pokemon corporatists told people that Digimon was demonic creatures coming out of their TVs and shit. So all the Christian people stopped watching Digimon.
You know, I'm thinking about it, and I have a lot to say about both. So we should do an episode devoted to the two of them.
You know, it's funny. They actually legit banned Pokemon at one point in Saudi Arabia because they said it was like anti-religion or some shit like that.
Yeah, there was a point where there's this thing going around on Facebook or something saying, oh yeah, Pokemon are actually, they're like demonic monsters. They're pocket monsters and demons that this guy who created them was demonic. And I'm just like, the fuck?
That's just like God-fearing Christians from the South are just being dumb heads.
Yeah, that's probably it.
Well, I was talking about Saudi Arabia. That's not the South, but yeah.
Garrett was talking about when he said Facebook.
Oh, yeah.
Saudi Arabia is a whole other mess.
Hey, man, Saudi Arabia lets women drive now. They still have to have a guy, but they let women drive.
Hey, good for them.
Yeah, they're advancing.
Congratulations for what we did 100 years ago.
Don't ever Saudi.
Well, it's not even a thing that shouldn't have not been even a thing. Like the idea of women not being allowed to drive.
Women are terrible drivers. An Asian woman, worst driver you'll ever meet.
They cause more deaths per year than smoking. All right, good night, everyone. We love ya.
We'll see you next time.
Bye.